So you guys want to be on page 46. Your essential question is right here, and it says, what factors influence gravitational potential energy? Your code today is 110, one level 1 question, one level 2 question. They're short notes, and that's all you're going to need. Should be right on page number 46, and your topic today is GPE, or gravitational potential. Notes that we're taking today is that we're using a formula that is just a multiply formula. And I didn't know. So the trick to multiplying, hey Miss Berg, you guys might recognize, right, is that it doesn't matter what order you multiply numbers in. If you've got a string of numbers, like it doesn't matter if you go 2 times 3 times 4 or 4 times 3 times 2, you get the same number, correct? Let me show you. So we'll do exactly that. 2 times 3 times 4. If you do that out, 2 times 3 gets you times 4 is 24, right? We could do it in any other order you want. We can go 3 times 4 times 2. 3 times 4 is 12 times 2 is 24, right? So it really, the thing about this formula is you don't have to memorize the formula so much. You just got to memorize the fact that you need to multiply 3 numbers together for this formula. So the formula is mass times gravity times height. But it doesn't matter if you go MGH or HGM or MHG. It doesn't matter what order you put them in because it's just a multiply thing. And it really doesn't matter what order the things get multiplied in. We're going to go over it here so you don't have to sweat it too much. There is no triangle for this that I'm aware of. So what you want to get down is this. First, the definition of gravitational potential energy if you don't already have it down. So this is kind of like a continuation yesterday of that flow chart we made, where we had the 3 types of potential energy. So we're kind of focusing in on one of them here, and it's gravitational potential energy, which, as it says, is energy that gets stored in an object when an object is above the surface of Earth. As I was telling Alejandro earlier, the higher above the surface of Earth it is, the more gravitational potential energy it has. And in a lot of ways, it's similar. You can think about it in a similar way that you think about momentum. If you remember that, we talked about momentum as you could figure out what has a lot of momentum by thinking about what's going to hurt when it runs into you, right? Like a golf ball dropped from an inch above your toe is really not going to cause you that much trouble, but a golf ball dropped from 500 feet up is going to cause some trouble when it hits you. Gravitational potential energy is the same way. You can think about how much is it going to get hurt to get hit by that thing? The more it hurts, the more GPE it's got. So you can see it depends on 2 things. It depends on mass, which is obviously how much mass an object has. And it also depends on the height of the object above the ground. And then there's a third part of it, gravity. How come on Earth, gravitational potential energy only depends on mass and height and not gravity? Haley? Magdalene? Yeah, gravity is the same on Earth, so that's why it's the same on Earth. The other 2 things will change, but that one doesn't. So the formula for it, you can see it right there, is mass. And if you can remember back, when we dealt with mass, there's a specific unit that mass is measured in. Remember when you label mass, what the unit should be for it? Yep. Kilograms for mass. When you measure gravity, there's always a number here on Earth, right? That 9.8, and then the label is meters per second squared. So that's always the same. And then for height, the label for height would always be meter. Right, so those are the 3 labels you need. You need kilograms for mass. You need meters per second squared for gravity. That includes if you go to a different planet, you'd have a different number, but you'd have the same label. And then finally for height, it's in meters. So those things are useful for me just because on a test, if you remember, when you do a calculated answer, you get 1 point for the right number and 1 point for the right label. So even if you don't know how to do the calculation on a test, if it's asking you for height, you can at least write down meters and still get half of the point out of that. So having the labels down to me is an important thing. So far, so good? Okay. Just an example of how to do this formula. So all this is, again, nothing to write down here. You've got down everything down that you may need to write down. The only thing we're going to do with this is do the calculation. So you can see how to do this calculation. I can show it to you. If you need a calculator, you're welcome to use a phone to do that. If you need a calculator, there's always a couple in this drawer that you're welcome to at any point in time. So if you got a phone with a calculator, you can have it out right now. If you don't, grab a calculator. If you don't have a calculator or a phone, just grab one of these if you don't mind. And I can show you how to do this. Everybody got themselves a calculator? Okay. So all you got to do for this is plug stuff in. Remember our formula. GPE is equal to mass times 9.8 times height. That's all our formula is. So in here, we just got to find those numbers, pull them out, and stick them in this formula. So we've got a plane that's 2,000 kilograms. 2,000, is that mass, height, or gravity? Mass, right? So we can do 2,000 times 9.8, because that's gravity, times, what's our height in this thing? 3,000. When you multiply, all you got to do, 2,000 times 9.8 times 3,000. And if you got a calculator in front of you, we should all get the same answer. Should be 58,800,000. And you'd only get half credit for that. Joules, yeah. Joules, like jewels on a necklace. So it's as simple as that to do these calculations. There really isn't that much to them. Let me show you the next part, though. For those of you guys that are in algebra, you may know how to do this. If you aren't in algebra, you can follow along and I'll teach you. Caden?
So you know how on the last step when we did calculations, we had to divide sometimes?
Yep.
Is that going to do that?
Yep, I was just about to show you that. So, what if you've got a formula, right, where you don't know the mass of it. So you've got, I'm going to use x because, right, for algebra, sometimes you use x for the unknown. So that's going to be for our mass, times gravity, we know is 9.8, times our height, let's say it's 100 meters up, equals, we'll come up with the number, 10,000, like that, joules. If you have this information, can you figure out how high up that thing is? You can. There's two ways you can do it. One is like the combined like terms method, and the other is just divide it twice. So I'll show you the combined like terms method because it makes dividing easier. First thing, since these numbers are known, you can just multiply those things together. And when you multiply 9.8 times 100, you get 980, I think. So we know that x times 980 is going to get us 10,000. Ooh, almost. So remember that, like, the way I think about math is this is like a knot that's all been tied up. And to figure out, like, the individual parts of it, you got to untie that knot. So it's tied up through multiplication. How do you undo or untie a multiply? Divide, yeah. So all you have to do here is divide by that number, 980, and that thing cancels out. And then whatever 10,000 divided by 980 is. I can't do that in my head. What did you get, Ken? There you go. So it'd be like 10.2 meters high. And that's all there is to that. Combine like terms, do the division, and it's all done. And if you get lost on that, it's on video right now, so you can just go back and say, hey, I've got a problem like that, I can't figure it out. You can watch the 30 seconds of the video, and then you got it. Height. Or, sorry, not height, but mass. Because there's our height right there. So last bit, and your homework for tonight, there are just 5 problems that are like this. So 5 calculation problems that are on the Google Classroom website. They're just a doc that's on there. All you got to do for those, you can access them on your phone right now if you'd like, or using a Chromebook. All you got to do is put the 5 answers. That's all you need on page 45 is the 5 calculated answers to those things and like your formula setup, if you don't mind. So just your numbers plugged in. You don't have to show like your long form multiplication or anything. Just plug your numbers in, write your answer down, and that's the end on page 45.